Once upon a time in the village of Omunta, there lived two friends called Azuka and Urema. They grew up together in the same neighborhood. Their childhood homes were just a few blocks away. They were inseparable from the moment they met at the age of 5, sharing everything together, like going to farm, playing, fetching water from the stream together. Their bond grew stronger with each passing year, blossoming into a deep and abiding love by the time they reached their teen. Azuka's mother, called Ojugo, was a formidable force. She was widowed at a young age, and she had dedicated all her life to raising Azuka single-handedly, instilling in him values of hard work, respect, and dedication. Her whole life revolved around her son, and she harbored dreams of a perfect future for him. As Azuka and Nurema's relationship evolved, Ojugo's initial indifference turned into disapproval. She has envisaged a different kind of woman for her son, someone she felt was more suitable. She wanted him to marry Uloma, her friend's daughter. Urema's parents, on the other hand, were overjoyed at the prospect of their daughter marrying her childhood sweetheart. They welcomed Azuka into their home with open arms, treating him as one of their own. Despite Ojugo's reservation, Azuka and Urema's love only grew stronger. They supported each other throughout the challenges of young adulthood. Years later, Azuka became a very successful rich farmer and a trader who owned chains of farmlands, livestock, and businesses, while Urema became a successful fashion designer. Over the years, Azuka and Urema always go to the village river every evening after the day's job. They always go there to relax, have fun, and play while the sun sets. One beautiful evening, with the sun casting a golden hull over the village, as Azuka and Urema strolled to the river, Azuka had prepared for the most important moment of his life. He had spent weeks planning, gathering white flowers, and practicing the words he would say. He wanted everything to be perfect. Urema had no idea of what was in store for her that evening. She thought it was just another visit to their favorite spot by the river. As they walked hand in hand, she felt a sense of peace and happiness being with Azuka. The air was filled with sweet scents of blooming flowers, and the gentle sound of the river added a magic touch to the moment. When they reached the river bank, Azuka took a deep breath and led Urema to a spot where he had arranged a beautiful circle of white flowers. Urema's eyes widened in surprise and delight. "Azuka, what is all this?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Azuka knelt on one knee, holding Urema's hand in his. "Urema, you are the light of my life, the one who makes my heart beat faster. We have shared so many beautiful and sad moments together, and I cannot imagine my life without you. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears welled up in Urema's eyes as she looked at Azuka, her heart overflowing with love. "Yes, Azuka, yes, I will marry you," she exclaimed, arms around him. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the village, Azuka and Urema stood by the river, holding each other close. Everyone was happy about the proposal except Ojugo, Azuka's mother. However, Azuka and Urema went ahead with the wedding preparation, believing that Ojugo would eventually come around and accept Urema as her daughter-in-law. As the wedding preparation progressed, Ojugo's disapproval became more evident. She criticized everything from the wedding day to the choice of the venue. Azuka tried to appease his mom, but her disapproval only seemed to intensify. Ojugo was determined to stop the wedding, believing that Urema was not the right woman for her son. On the day of the wedding, when everything was set, the atmosphere was electric with excitement. Friends and family had gathered at the church, the air filled with sweet scents of flowers and sounds of joyful chatter. Urema looked radiant in her white wedding gown, a vision of beauty and grace. Azuka stood at the altar, his heart swelling with love and anticipation. As Urema walked down the aisle, her eyes locked with Azuka's, and the world around them seemed to fade away. They reached the altar, ready to exchange their vows and commit to a lifetime of love and partnership. But just as the priest began the ceremony, a commotion erupted at the back of the church. All heads turned to see Ojugo storming down the aisle. her face a mask of anger and determination. In her hand, she held a small bottle of black liquid. Before anyone could react, she uncorked the bottle and splashed the content onto Urema's wedding dress. Gasps of shock and disbelief echoed through the church as the black liquid spread across the white fabric, a stark contrast to the purity it represented. Urema stood frozen, her heart broken as tears welled up in her eyes. Azuka, momentarily stunned, quickly snapped out of the shock and stepped protectively in front of Urema, his eyes blazing with anger. He turned to his mother, his voice trembling with fury. "Mama, what have you done?" he demanded, his voice echoing in the stunned silence of the church. Ojuko's face was set in a defiant scorn. "Azuka, this is not the woman for you. I cannot allow you make this mistake," she said. Ignoring his mother's protest, Azuka took Urema's hands and looked deeply into her eyes and said, "Urema, my love, we are going to get married today no matter what. Are you with me?" Urema, her heart filled with a mix of love and sorrow, nodded. "Yes, Azuka, I am with you always." The priest, seeing the resolve in their eyes, continued with the ceremony. With unwavering voices, Azuka and Urema exchanged their vows, pledging to love and cherish each other through all of life's trials. The guests, initially shocked by the interruption, rallied round the couple, offering their support and blessing. The reception that followed was a mix of joy and tension. While the newlyweds were surrounded by friends and family who celebrated their union, Ojugo's presence loomed like a dark cloud. Azuka and Urema did their best to focus on their happiness, but the incident at the altar was a shadow that could not be easily forgotten. After the wedding and days later, Azuka confronted his mother in a heated argument. "Mama, what you did was unforgivable. You embarrassed Urema and me in front of everyone. You need to apologize to her, Mama." Ojugo, her pride wounded and her resentment still burning, refused. "Azuka, I did what I thought was best for you. I will not apologize for protecting my son," she said. Fury swung to Azuka. "Mama, if you don't apologize to Urema, I will have no other choice but to cut you out of my life. I love you, but I will not allow you to disrespect my wife," Azuka said. The threat of losing her son finally pierced through Ojugo's stubbornness. With great reluctance, she agreed to apologize. However, the apology was cold and insincere, her words laced with bitterness. Urema, ever gracious, accepted the apology, but the tension between her and Ojugo was still visible. After their wedding, Azuka and Urema went to live in another village. Azuka loved and adored Urema so much that he literally worships the ground that she walks on. He calls her pet names like Ubebo Yibom, Oriakum, Usodia, Lolom, Munyomam. These were the pet names he uses to praise his wife. Urema, on the other hand, loves Azuka so much, he respects and adores him. In fact, she calls him my crown. The love between them was so strong and they were always happy together. As years passed, their love for each other only grew stronger. Their marriage was a celebration of love and hope, but it was so shadowed by a painful reality. They were unable to have children. In a culture where children were seen as ultimate blessing and a continuation of the family lineage, this was a heavy burden to bear. Ojugo's disapproval turned into open hostility. She seized every opportunity to remind Urema of her perceived failure. Each time she visits her son's house, it was always a nightmare for poor Urema because she will always taunt her with hurtful words like, "You are barren. Of what use are you in this family? I warned Azuka not to marry you, but he wouldn't listen to me. Now look at where his stubbornness had led him to. Urema, 5 good years of marriage, yet you have refused to give my son children, not even a child though. Well, I am not surprised. You are a witch. You have eaten all your children in your womb. Urema, give us children," she will always say to her. These words always pierce through Urema's heart, and she dreads the visitation of her mother-in-law because it always ends in tears. Despite Urema's earnest effort to please her mother-in-law, Ojugo remained distant and cold. Her disappointment grew with each passing year. She often complained to her friends and neighbors about Urema, lamenting her inability to fulfill her most important role as a wife. What use is a wife who cannot bear children? She will always say bitterly. The whispers grew louder, and soon Urema found herself ostracized by many in the village. Women who had once been friendly now turned their backs on her, and the once vibrant community that she has embraced felt cold and hostile. The villagers, who were always eager for a gossip, were quick to pick up on tensions. Ojugo never for one missed an opportunity to sow seed of discord, went about complaining to anyone who would listen about Urema's inability to bear children. Can you imagine, she would say, her voice dripping with disdain. My son married a fellow man. Yes, now, because any man that cannot bear children is a fellow man. I blame my son, oh, and I warned him he will not listen. That woman is a witch. That woman is a witch. She has tied my son somewhere in their witch coven, she will always say. Despite all this, Urema continued to treat everyone with kindness, refusing to let bitterness take root in her heart. Most nights, Urema cries herself to sleep. She kept begging God to bless her with the fruit of the womb so that all this humiliation would end. She had even suggested that Azuka takes another wife that will bear him children, but Azuka will never agree to be a party to that. But in all this, Azuka, her husband, never loved her less. He never made her feel less of a woman. He always reassures her of his undying love for her. He will always say to her, Oriakum, please stop worrying yourself. It is God that gives children. Oh. I know that God's best time, He will give us children. He will bless us with our own child. He will bless us with plenty children in this house. Oh, baby, please don't worry yourself. Because no, I love you and nothing nor anyone can change that. His words of reassurance always bring succor to Urema. One day, as Urema was returning from the market, she overheard a conversation between two women. Have you heard? One of them said. Her mother-in-law is taking her to see the village herbalist too. She thinks that there might be a curse on her. Urema's heart sank. She had been to countless doctors and tried different remedies now, but nothing has worked. The idea of being taken to the village herbalist, subjected to rituals and potion, filled her with dread. Yet she knew that refusing Ojugo's plan would only worsen the situation. The next morning, Ojugo dragged Urema to the herbalist hut at the edge of the village. The herbalist, an old woman with wise eyes, listened patiently as Ojugo explained the situation. She looked at Urema with compassion and asked her a few questions. After a while, she shook her head and said, This woman is not cursed. She said firmly. Sometimes the gods have their reasons. Perhaps there is a different path for her. Ojugo was furious. What do you mean different path? She's supposed to give my son children. The herbalist remained calm and said, Forcing the will of the gods can bring more harm than good. Show patience and understanding to this woman. There are many ways to build a family. Ojugo stormed out, dragging Urema with her. This is nonsense, she spat. I will not accept this. So as time went on, life became more unbearable for Urema. Ojugo's bitterness seemed to reach new heights. She intensified her campaign against her, spreading even more malicious rumors, turning more of the villagers against her. Azuka tried to intervene, but his mother's stubbornness and the village growing in animosity made it difficult. But he made sure that he was always there for Urema. One early morning, while Urema and Azuka were still in bed, they heard a knock at their door. They imagined who would be visiting them at that time of the day. So Urema went to answer the door, and behold, it was her mother-in-law. And standing beside her was a very beautiful young woman. With a trembling voice, Urema greeted her mother-in-law, stammering. She said, Mama, good morning, ma. No, she said, you didn't even tell us that you were coming. But before she could finish talking, Ojugo interrupted her and said, Oh, I should have sent the whole town criers to announce to you now that I'm coming to my own son's house, your majesty. As the majesty that you are now, I don't blame you. I only blame my son for marrying a fellow man like him. Because leave the way, let me go inside. She pushed her aside as she made her way into the house, taking along with her the young lady. And Urema stood confused. As they made their way inside the house, Azuka came out of the room saying, Oh, baby, that is referring to his wife. Who is that? As he approached the sitting room, then he saw his mother and he said, Mama, good morning, Mama. Oh, you didn't inform us that you were coming. And his mother answered gently and said, My son, I am sorry. I wanted to surprise you. Then Azuka asked, "Please, who is this visitor, Mama?" His mother answered and said, "My son, please sit down. This is not a visitor. In fact, she is the reason why I'm here." Then she continued and said, "This is Uloma, the daughter of Mazi Okolo. She's your new wife." Immediately, Azuka got furious and he stood up from his chair and said, "Mama, my new what? Did I ever discuss needing a new wife with you? Mama, please, I am going out now. And before I get back, Biko, I want you to leave my house with your visitor," he said, and he stormed out of the house angrily. Immediately he left the house, Ojugo turned to Uloma angrily and said, "Listen, you are the one that will leave this house. Oh. I don't know what you used to charm my son. It has failed though, because this time around you will leave us alone." Ekwensu, as she made her way into one of the rooms, taking Uloma along. In the night of that same day, Urema woke her husband up and pleaded with him to allow Mama and the young woman stay. At first, Azuka was not having any of it. Urema explained to him that it was the only way she could have peace in the house. Because of the love Azuka has for his wife, he agreed but told her that he would never have anything to do with Uloma, and he kept to his word because he avoided Uloma like a plague in the house. One day, while Urema went to visit her parents in the next village, Azuka came back from the farm excited because his trap has caught a very big animal. Out of excitement, he asked his mother Ojugo to prepare a very special meal for him, which she did. He ate so much and had so much to drink that he became drunk. When his mother noticed that he was drunk, he seized the opportunity and asked Uloma to lay with him, which Uloma did successfully. Immediately the deed was done, Urema walked into the house and Azuka regained his senses. He pleaded with his wife to forgive him as it wasn't intentional. However, Urema wasn't angry with her husband. Rather, she was happy and she prayed that Uloma would conceive and bear Azuka a child. "At least with this, Mama will leave me alone," she said to herself. Weeks later, Uloma began to feel weak, loss of appetite and nauseous. She said to herself, "Hey, Chimo, I am pregnant. Oh. Nah, She was so happy. She called on Mama, saying, "Mama, come. Oh. What some people could not achieve for more than 5 years, me, Uloma, have done it. Oh. Mama, I'm pregnant." She then told Mama that she was pregnant, and Mama was happy and danced with joy. Azuka received the news with mixed feeling. He was happy on one hand because he was going to become a father, but was sad on the other hand because the child wasn't coming from his love, Urema. Again, it was concluded that Azuka would pay Uloma's bride price immediately she puts to bed, as their custom doesn't permit the paying of bride price of a pregnant woman. From that day, Uloma made the home a living hell for Urema, using every opportunity to remind Urema of her condition. As days went, Uloma's arrogance towards Urema increased. Empowered by her pregnancy and Ojugo's favoritism, she began to treat Urema with contempt. Tasks that Urema had once done with care and diligence were now criticized mercilessly. Uloma and her mother-in-law conspired to make Urema's life as difficult as possible, relegating her to the most menial and grueling chores. Urema fetched more water from the river. Uloma will command, her tongue dripping with disdain as she sits lazing around. She will say, "Make sure this water is clean. Oh, get me very clean water," she will say. "Urema, why is this floor so dirty?" Her mother-in-law will snap. "Do you expect Uloma, my pregnant daughter-in-law, to live in such a filthy environment?" Despite the mistreatment, Urema endured with quiet dignity. She continued to perform her duties, her heart heavy with sorrow, but steadfast in her resolve. Although they continued mistreating her, yet she increased her love and kindness towards them. And of course, Azuka was always there for her, bringing calm against any raging storm. The next month, something happened. Uloma began to see her monthly period. She was confused and she said to herself, "How can a pregnant woman be menstruating? This is not normal." So she decided to visit the village herbalist to find out the cause. When she got there, the herbalist examined her. Then she said, "Uloma, my daughter, sit down." She looked deep into her eyes and said, "My daughter, you are not pregnant. You were never pregnant. You had malaria." Uloma looked at the herbalist in disbelief and said, "What did you just say?" I am I am not pregnant. Please check. Oh, I am pregnant." Then the herbalist said, "Who confirmed to you that you were pregnant in the first place? Uloma said, nobody. I know myself because my monthly period did not come last month. The herbalist told her that it happens sometimes, probably due to stress, change in hormones, or sickness, of which in this case she had untreated malaria. Uloma yelled at the herbalist and said, you must be joking. Oh, you want to be part of my enemies, Abi? Oh, you think you can steal away my joy? Abi, let me tell you this, old woman, you can't. Oh, I am pregnant and that is final. But the herbalist wasn't done because she dropped the bombshell, which eventually shattered Uloma completely. The herbalist said to Uloma, from my observation, you can never get pregnant. Your womb had been damaged years ago. Immediately, Uloma stormed out of the herbalist's hut angrily. But when Uloma got home, she was pacing about in the room and she said to herself, never! I can't be disgraced out of this house. Ha! After all I've done to Rema, if I can't have a child, then Mama will chase me out of this house. Hey! I have to act fast, she said. So guys, what do you think will happen next? What do you think Uloma will do next? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
Hello bestie, thank you so much for watching the story. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please, if you've not subscribed to this channel and you've watched up to this extent, please support this little growing channel of mine. Kindly hit on the subscribe button and please don't forget to put on your notification icon so that anytime I post a new story, a new video, you'll be the first to know. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share the story so that others can enjoy it too. Please don't go without subscribing, and until our next video, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.